Welcome back to the Bullish Money Media channel. I want to do a video today that may be considered a little bit self-destructive, yet I want to present this idea to you. And that is that I'm actually looking forward to a day when Steemit not only grows exponentially, but also grows internationally. I really hope that we get to a day where we can finally put an end to the American hegemony and have more of an international presence. Because right now, obviously through the American hegemonic geopolitical system, that America, even though it really only represents 330 million people compared to 7 billion people in the world, is a very small percentage of the world actually that are Americans, yet essentially 90% or so of the politics, of the geopolitics and other things that people talk about, even pop culture, it's all based in America. Even the financial system, largely speaking, it's based not just in America, but in one American city, New York City, okay? And because of that, we all abide by a certain American culture, an imposed American culture. We abide, for example, by Wall Street rules. So if you wanted to trade on Wall Street from your computer, you can, but you have to abide by Wall Street's rules, traditions, and hours, okay? That's 9:30 a.m. Eastern to 4 p.m. Eastern, okay? You have 6.5 hours, their hours, to trade. And so it's all controlled by American hegemony. And for Steemit, it's the same thing. Usually, I believe most comments, most content, most users are coming from somewhere within the United States or from American expats. But I would really like to get to a situation where Americans represent a small portion of the Steemit community, and I say that as an American. I would really love to see where we have a true representation of the world through Steemit. That Steemit is a true microcosm, a true representation of the broader world. Because we have to admit something to ourselves, that largely speaking, the Western world is in decline, and particularly this American hegemony, which every American enjoys right now, that is also waning. That is also on the decline, and we do have to prepare for that transition. I believe that we are facing an Eastern transition, and I say that based on demographic facts. You know, right now everybody's talking about the browning of America. What they really should focus on is the yellowing of America, because Asian people, and that includes people from India, Asian people represent 52% of the global population. That means that if you picked any one person from the world at random, that person is going to be Asian, more likely than not. And the next biggest global demographic, are Africans, but it's a significant gap between the Asians and the Africans. I believe the Africans represent only about 17 or 18% of the global demographic. So that's a massive gap there between Asians and Africans. And then from Africans to Europeans, forget it. I mean, it's just an insane demographic. So clearly the demographic leverage has already shifted to the Eastern Hemisphere, and I believe that everything else, the culture, the monetary system, everything that we take for granted, even our language, the English language, everything is going to be shifted towards the Eastern Hemisphere. So Steemit really needs to get on board that trend, and I'm really looking forward to a time when that trend starts to accelerate for the Steemit network. I think that it will be an education, actually, for many of my fellow American Steemians, because too many of us assume with other people that I've seen some very rude conversations about how people should speak in English and they shouldn't speak in their native languages, and I don't think that should be the case. I think that if somebody wants to speak with their native language, that's what Google Translator's for, folks. That's what Google Translator's for. Maybe you won't get the most accurate translation. I translated Farsi, and I'm like, I don't know if this translation is absolutely correct, but I've translated Farsi, okay? And okay, sometimes the translation is a little confusing. Maybe you can fill in the gaps, okay? But that's what Google Translator's for. And besides, who are we to say that the other person that we communicate with on the Steemit network has to speak English? See, I get comments in almost every single language, okay? I had the Farsi, I've had the Russian, I've had the Portuguese and the Spanish. And you know, I'm sure I'm going to get Dutch and German and French and Italian and Chinese and Japanese and all that stuff. I'm sure I'm going to get all that stuff. Okay, I'm not going to tell each and every single one of those commentators, hey, speak English. I'm not going to talk to you. No, I mean, hey, this is an international community, and it really has no borders. Steemit truly has no borders, and so we should treat each other with a modicum of respect, I believe. And part of that, engendering that respect, means that we as Americans get off our damn high horse and start accepting the world for for what it is. Because look, we've enjoyed this great time in America as being Mystery Babylon or the Great Babylon, and that time will eventually come to an end. So it's not good to hold on to hubris. It's not good to hold on to arrogance and to assume that America will be the sole superpower. I believe that, again, everything is transitioning to the Eastern Hemisphere, so America, you know, who knows, in several generations from now, America just may be an afterthought, okay? It may just be the gas station of the Eastern Hemisphere, who knows, right? And so we need to prepare ourselves mentally for that transition, because in many cases, such as the demographic trends, that transition has already occurred.